China is weak. Why they would lose against the USA in war. The tensions between China and Taiwan have been brewing for a while now, with the CCP taking an increasingly aggressive stance ever since Pelosi's visit to China and Taiwan. In a show of force, Beijing has announced military exercises, fired ballistic missiles, and rehearsed the assault of Taiwan. It's as if China is trying to prove to the world that it's not afraid to go to war to take back Taiwan. But while China may be flexing its military might, it's struggling economically. The real estate market is crashing, the population is aging, and the GDP growth is slowing down. This begs the question, can China really afford to go to war with the USA? The Chinese economy is still being held hostage, with massive downgrades and uncertainties. Despite this, the Chinese government considers Taiwan to be a breakaway region that it intends to seize back, even if it means provoking the USA. The stakes are high, and Biden has made it clear that he's willing to defend Taiwan in the event of an attack from China. It's a situation that's fraught with danger and uncertainty, and one that could have far-reaching consequences for the region and the world. So let's dive deeper and see if China's fragile economy can really afford to go to war with the USA. China's economy has been the envy of the world, growing faster than any other major country for the past 50 years. But now, the CCP is facing an economic slowdown that's scaring them. The reason is simple. China has never really had a recession in the past half-century, which is extremely rare in the world of economics. This is because every time China's economy showed signs of slowing down, the government would take steps to alleviate the pressure and keep the economy moving forward. It's a strategy that's worked every time, until now. Because this time, the situation is unique, and the CCP's old ways will not work to help this slowing economy. So what did the CCP do before to ward off recessions for the last 50 years? They focused on trade and globalization, which made China the second largest economy in the world. However, while China is strong, problems still exist, especially when it comes to GDP per capita, where China sits 79th in the world, with only $16,000 per person, which is less than countries like Iraq, Thailand, and Argentina. While hundreds of billions of dollars have been poured into rural China to help citizens climb out of poverty, more than 200 million people are still living in poverty, earning less than $5 per day. This is why the CCP's main focus has always been pulling people out of poverty by any means necessary. But here's the catch. Right after the Tiananmen Square massacre of 1989, the communist government made an unofficial deal with the public. The government would provide rapid economic growth and better living standards for Chinese people in return for citizens not minding the CCP's overreach into personal rights. It's a complicated situation, but one thing's clear. China's economy is facing challenges like never before, and the CCP's old playbook may not work this time round. It's a situation that could have far-reaching consequences, not just for China, but for the global economy as well. China has been on an unstoppable economic ride for the past few decades, with consistent growth and prosperity for its citizens. But now, with an economic slowdown hitting the country like a ton of bricks, the CCP is starting to panic. The fear is palpable, as the government realizes that their entire legitimacy rests on the promise of economic growth. The problem is, the old ways of stimulating the economy are not working anymore, and the CCP is scrambling to find a solution. This is uncharted territory for China, a country that hasn't experienced a recession in half a century. It's as if the CCP has forgotten how to deal with an economic downturn, and the whole country is feeling the weight of uncertainty. But the truth is, China's past economic success was not solely due to government policies. It was also because of the country's integration into the global economy and its embrace of trade and globalization. However, with rising trade tensions and new economic powers emerging, China's future growth prospects are uncertain, and the CCP is facing a daunting task of balancing economic growth with maintaining political control. The stakes are high, and the challenge is daunting. The world is watching with bated breath, as this economy slowdown in China will have global implications and could potentially change the balance of power in the world. The question is, how will China and the CCP handle this unprecedented challenge? Once upon a time, the Chinese government was faced with a daunting challenge. The world economy was in shambles due to the 2008 global crisis, and China needed to find a way to keep its economy growing while also providing jobs for its citizens. So the CCP came up with a solution: massive spending projects like high-speed rails. This twofold approach seemed to work like a charm at first, providing jobs and infrastructure to the growing country. But as they say, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. The CCP took things a bit too far and began building high-speed trains at an alarming rate without considering the long-term consequences. This reckless approach to infrastructure development eventually led to massive debt and corruption, which would cause headaches for the government down the road. The CCP realized that they couldn't rely solely on spending projects to drive economic growth forever, as the return on investment started to dwindle. Fast forward to today, and China is facing another economic crisis. A banking fraud scandal is causing social unrest, and another financial crisis may be on the horizon. Rural lenders have been frozen out of their bank accounts, and citizens are taking their frustrations out on anyone they can find. It's a tumultuous time for China, and the world is watching to see how they will handle this crisis. Will the CCP be able to find a way to balance economic growth and political control? The situation in China is truly unsettling. Despite being a middle-income country, around 200 million citizens still live in poverty, and the average yearly income is only around $11,000. To keep economic growth going, the government encouraged citizens to buy houses, and the real estate market slowly became a significant part of China's economy. However, this turned into a ticking time bomb that is now on the verge of collapsing. The CCP's draconian zero-COVID policy and the implementation of the three red line policy to control leverage in the industry have only made things worse. With the real estate market representing 30% of China's GDP and more than 75% of household wealth, a crash in its housing prices means a lot of families who pulled together multi-generational wealth by real estate are now suffering. And with China's economic growth being rocky, experts are calling the next 10 years the decade of lost returns. In this era of uncertain investing, ultra-high net worth investors are turning to blue-chip art to reduce volatility in their portfolios, and it's no surprise why. This asset class has a low correlation to other major asset classes, and it doesn't experience the same volatility. However, this art has been reserved for the billionaire class until now. Masterworks, a startup investment platform, is giving every investor priority access to this wealth-generating asset, with an average 29% net return since its inception. Their team of art market experts is making it easy for over 500,000 users to discover the potential of this exclusive asset. But the deal the CCP had with its people is now in question. The CCP is expected to provide consistent economic growth at any cost, and citizens are expected to overlook the government's authoritarian rule in return. However, with economic growth slowing down and the government's authoritarianism only seeming to be growing, the trade-off doesn't seem to be worth it. Xi Jinping's zero-COVID policy has led to some apocalyptic nightmares with constant lockdowns, mandatory PCR tests, and fences to stop people leaving their flats. The communist government is even placing electronic magnetic alarms on the front doors of some people in places where they have tested positive. All of these factors make for an uncertain and unsettling prospect for the CCP and China's future. The CCP's aggressive stance toward Taiwan is not just a distraction from internal problems, it's also a warning to the world. China's economy is interconnected to the West, and the country is dependent on exports for a significant portion of its GDP. The USA is China's biggest export partner, and if trade were to be disrupted, millions of jobs could be lost. The CCP has a habit of misrepresenting facts, so the numbers could be much worse. While China's manufacturing industry is easily replaceable, the same cannot be said for jobs. If millions of people stop spending, it could have catastrophic consequences for the economy. As global citizens, it's crucial to stay informed and engage with these issues and to advocate for human rights, democracy, and peaceful resolutions of conflict. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.